everyone. This is the True Crime Story channel, where we cover real crime stories. Before we can start, make sure you subscribe, like this video and turn on your notification. Let's begin. So today's video is going to be another true crime case. The case I'm going to talk about is the Brooke Skylar Richardson case. I appreciate every single one of you for supporting me in any way that you already do, whether it's like leaving a thumbs up or putting your notifications on and commenting on my videos. It means a lot to me, and let's get into the video. Brooke Skylar Richardson. Most of the time she went by Skylar, which is her middle name. She was born and raised in Carlisle, Ohio, which is a very small town. Brooke had a brother named Jackson, and her parents were named Kim and Scott Richardson, and on the outside looking in, they had the perfect life growing up. Brooke and Jackson were both athletic and into sports. Jackson played on the football team and Skylar was a cheerleader. She's like the person that is getting tossed up in the air, and she took cheerleading really seriously. She also had really good grades and was an overall well-liked student. However, the pressure of being a flyer, being the person that gets thrown up into the air, really got to Brooke. She struggled with an eating disorder. According to her mom, it started really young, around 12 years old, she said. At that age, she remembers that Brooke didn't want to buy gum because it had too many calories in it. Brooke also cares about her body image, so her mom says that it was because she was a flyer, and maybe that was part of it. In July of 2016, Brooke started dating one of her friend's cousins, and I believe his name was Trey. They dated for a brief period of time, nothing too serious, and eventually they ended the relationship. And going into 2017, Skylar had a new boyfriend. He was a junior at her high school, and his name was Brandon. Brooke really liked Brandon, and their relationship was getting really serious. Her parents really liked him, and they thought he was a good influence on her. During this time, Brooke seemed very happy to them. She was at the best place mentally that she had been in a really long time, and she was also gaining some weight, and her parents were really happy about that. They thought Brooke is gaining weight because she's happy in her new healthy relationship. And they also thought maybe the eating disorder was under control. So as things were getting more serious with Brandon, her mom thought maybe Brooke should get on some birth control, and Brooke agreed. At this time, Brooke and her ex-boyfriend Trey Johnson only had sex twice, but they only used protection one of these 2 times, so as a result Brooke became pregnant with Trey's child. But she did not tell him that she was carrying his child. She didn't tell anybody after the relationship ended. When she broke it off, they had no further contact. According to Brooke, she had no idea that she was pregnant until she went to her OB/GYN on April 26 of 2017 to obtain birth control. She went to the doctor with her mother, who remained in the waiting room. When she was with the doctor, there was some question the doctor asked her. She asked when was her last menstrual period? And Brooke was given a pregnancy test which came back positive. At that point she broke down in tears and told her doctor, "I can't have this baby." According to this doctor, Brooke was already into her 3rd trimester and the heartbeat was healthy and strong. Brooke begged this doctor to give her the prescription for birth control, saying, "You know, I have to show my mother this prescription when we leave because that's what we came in for." And the doctor was kind of like, "I don't really feel right about this," but gave her the prescription. And told her, "I'm gonna give you this prescription and the assumption that you're gonna come back in and to get some blood tests and have an ultrasound." Brooke also made it very clear to the doctor that this doctor should not tell her mother. 11 days later, Brooke gave birth to her baby. She claimed the baby was stillbirth. She did this in her own home in the middle of the night, in her bathroom, and she also claims that she gave birth to the baby into the toilet. She had begun to have a labor that night. Actually, Brooke began having labor pains earlier in the day. She didn't call the doctor, she didn't go to the hospital, and she just had these labor pains and continued on with her day. And later that night, obviously, while her parents slept in their room downstairs and her brother slept in his room right next to her, she gave birth to this baby by herself. And like I said, she claimed that the baby was stillborn. She said the baby wasn't breathing, so what she ended up doing after this was, instead of waking up her parents or once again calling for help, she just took the baby's body downstairs to bury it. She went into her garage, she got a shovel of some kind or some digging implements, she went into her backyard and dug a hole and put the baby as well as everything else. Even though we're unclear as to what everything else is because she told her doctor later I buried all of it, so she buried all of it in this hole in her backyard, filled the hole in, and went on with her life. Brooke said nothing about this to anybody. The next day she texted her mother and said, "I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. I am literally so excited right now for the dinner to wear something cute, my belly is back. OMG, I am never ever ever letting it get like this again, and you're about to see me look better than ever now." She also said that she is taking this opportunity to make it amazing. She also texted her boyfriend at the time, the morning after, and told him, "Last night was like the worst ever, but I feel so much better this morning, but I'm really happy now." She spent the next few months going to the gym and taking pictures of her weight loss progress. 2 days before delivering her own baby, Brooke went to her senior prom with her new boyfriend. The day before delivering her baby, she went to a baseball game with her family and her boyfriend. She texted her boyfriend that day and said even though she wasn't feeling well and she was having cramps, she still wanted to go to the game. Both her current boyfriend and her ex-boyfriend, who is the baby's father and all of her family, has said she never at any points told any of them that she was pregnant and going through this. On July 12, Brooke went back to the doctor to get a wreath on her birth control prescription, and at this point the doctor pretty much said, "Hey, what happened last time you were here? You were in your 3rd trimester of pregnancy and now you're not pregnant anymore, so where's the baby and what happened?" And at that point Brooke broke down and told the doctor she'd given birth to the baby on her own and then buried it in the backyard. Afterwards the doctor contacted the police. The police headed over to Brooke's home to question her and find the remains of her baby in the backyard. They tell Brooke during their first interview with her that the doctor's office has already contacted them and told them what she had done. She breaks down. She says, "My parents are gonna kill me and I didn't want to tell them, but now they're going to find out." 3 days later the baby's remains are examined by a forensic pathologist named Dr. Susan Brown. Dr. Brown determined that the baby had died from homicidal violence. Since it had been 2 months, the baby's remains were badly decomposed. So Dr. Susan Brown said, "It's true that from the bones that I have left, I can't really tell how this baby died." So she took into account not only the autopsy of this baby but Brooke's statements to the police, and everything else, her statements from the doctor. All the evidence was collected when making this claim. The baby had died from homicidal violence or homicidal violence. Another forensic pathologist named Dr. Beth Murray had previously taken a look at the baby's remains and determined that the bones had charring on them. Now armed with this information, the police, they interviewed Brooke for the second time, basically told her, "We know something else happened than what you told us initially," and they explained to her that they had seen charring on the baby's bones. So they basically kept pushing her like, "Did you try to cremate your baby? This is perfectly normal if you did, it's okay, you just have to tell us." And she denied this 17 times before finally admitting to it and saying, "Yes, I did. I put a lighter on the baby, but just really quickly. And I put it on her foot, but the flames spread really quickly before I could put it out." So now they had a confession that essentially that Brooke had tried to set her baby on fire. But when the second pathologist took a look at the baby's remains, she said she could see no evidence that the bones were charred or that there had been any fire involved. She claims that the initial forensic pathologist, Dr. Murray, had been incorrect in this assumption. The police still evidently used this information to arrest Brooke and to get this confession from her. So Brooke's second interview took place on July 20th. That's when they tell her that they know what she did, that she tried to cremate the baby, and she denies it 17 times before finally admitting to it. Once they have this admission from her, she is promptly arrested and charged with reckless homicide. In her trial, her defense team tries to paint a picture of Brooke as a scared young girl who didn't know what to do and who had mentally gone through a lot of things in her life. And who definitely didn't want anybody to know about the baby, but who didn't take her own child's life. They claimed that the baby didn't have a heartbeat and she didn't know what to do. But she figured she could just take the body and give it a burial and nobody would find out and things would go back to normal. They claimed that if the baby had been born alive, Brooke would have told her parents and asked for help. They also claimed that Brooke struggled with an eating disorder since the 8th grade. They claimed that this is why Brooke didn't know she was pregnant until she went to the doctor's office because due to her low body weight. She often had irregularities in her menstrual cycle, and although she gained some weight during the pregnancy, she didn't know what was causing the weight gain. So it kicked her eating disorder into high gear, essentially causing her to starve herself to try to lose the weight that she was gaining. Her attorneys also claimed that she never tried to cremate the baby, but after being broken down during interrogation, she told the police what they wanted to hear because of past sexual abuse at the age of 12. Brooke had a tendency to submit to people in positions of authority. Now, of course, the prosecution had a different story to tell and a different picture to paint. They said that Brooke was a teenager who did not want to become a single mother, who knew that having a baby was going to change everything in her life, her plans to go off to college in the fall, and her relationship with her new boyfriend, so she took that baby's life when it was born and then hid the evidence. When she was interviewed by the police, she claimed she didn't really want to have a baby and she didn't know what her plans were. She said she had tried to have it taken care of, but by the time she found out that she was pregnant, it was too late, so she clearly did not want a baby. She clearly did not want to be a mother, and that's what the prosecution was saying. The prosecution also draws attention to the text that Brooke sent to her boyfriend and her mother literally within a day after going through this. You would think would be an incredibly traumatic event, giving birth to a child that was not breathing, being by yourself, going through hours and hours and hours of labor by yourself, and then having to hold the body of your child who wasn't breathing, and then to have to find a way to dispose of the body. So this would obviously be a traumatic event for anybody. But within 18 to 20 hours after this happened, the next day she was texting her mother about how she was so happy that her body was back. Her stomach was back, she was gonna work to get her body in better shape and never let herself get that way again. She was also texting her boyfriend saying last night was the worst, but I'm happy now. Prosecution also said, additionally, after going to the doctors, the day that they told her she was pregnant, they gave her that prescription for birth control. Brooke filled that prescription and began taking the birth control pills knowing that she was pregnant. When the doctor office repeatedly called her trying to get her to come back in, she had ignored those calls. The prosecution also brought forward evidence showing that Brooke had Googled how to get rid of a baby after finding out that she was pregnant at the doctor's office. There was also a lot of concentration on both sides, the defense and the prosecution. On Brooke's mother, she was affected by her daughter, their dynamic in their relationship. They claimed that Brooke's mother was also image-obsessed and basically projected this onto her daughter. This contributed to Brooke's low self-esteem and body dysmorphia. And there were texts that were shown in court between Brooke and her mother, because what happened was allegedly the doctor's office had accidentally sent to Brooke's mother an email giving her the pregnancy results. So Brooke's mother texted her when she was at school and said, "What the heck is going on here?" And Brooke responded, "Hey, I just got to school and that's a mistake, it is not true, and I'll call you as soon as I can." And Brooke's mother responded back to her saying, "You need to call me now if this is true. This is going to ruin everything." Essentially, more specifically, what she said was she wanted Brooke to have a great future. So in the weeks after she gave birth to her baby and buried it in the backyard, Brooke sent her mother pictures of herself and her weight loss, basically trying to show her mother that she was losing this weight and wanting her mother to be proud of her. Brooke also texted her mother one day telling her that she'd lost 20 pounds, and it was announced in the classroom and everybody clapped for her, and Brooke's mother responded back to her, "I could cry." And she also said to Brooke that she is literally her hero. When her parents came to see her at the police station before she was arrested, but after her second interview, Brooke told her mother, "I tried to cremate the baby just a little bit." Which completely shocked her father. And he was like, "Did you give birth to a baby that was stillbirth?" And she confirmed to him that she did. Later on, actually, the baby was a little girl and was born given the name Annabelle after everything had went down. Brooke was found not guilty of aggravated murder, involuntary homicide, and child endangerment. Obviously, the family was super relieved that she wasn't going to spend the rest of her life in jail only being charged with abuse of a corpse, and she was allowed to leave as a free woman. She only was giving a probation. Richardson's father asked the judge to let his daughter come home as soon as possible, so they could help her address an eating disorder and take care of her health. They did say that they were going to put her in an eating disorder treatment. Later on, after the court, their family put up a little angel statue in the backyard where Annabelle was buried. Her parents say they still go out and sit there a lot and mourn her death for a while. They didn't have the baby's body at the time, but eventually it was returned to them. Brooke update: after her trial, Brooke really wanted to go to the University of Cincinnati, but Brooke did not get into the University of Cincinnati after applying again, and that was because of her felony charge, but she did go to a local college. And eventually she says she wants to be a lawyer, and her defense lawyers said she got a job at their firm, and according to them, everyone loves her and she loves the job. After the trial, Trey Johnson's mother had said, quote, "She's broken, shattered, and none of them seem to fit the amount of pain I have felt ever since we found out. Not only did I lose my first grandchild, but my baby who I wouldn't lay down my life for without." I do have a lot of compassion for Brooke in the sense that she did have to go through this by herself. I definitely think she should have asked her parent for help. I know it must be traumatic that she gave birth by herself and then bury your newborn baby herself. Sound very terrible. This is all I have for this case, and let me know what you think about this case. Let me know which other case I should do. I'll be back in a few days for another case. I hope you enjoyed the case coverage. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up on your way out. Stay safe.